Hi everyone, welcome to the Sales High Five Show, where we tackle the toughest sales challenges and give you 5 actionable tips that you can put in play right away to help you win sales more often. I'm your host, Justin Zapula, and I'm managing partner at Janik Performance Group. Janik is a leading sales performance company helping the top sales organizations across the globe solve their most pressing sales challenges. We do this through a variety of research-based solutions to help them do just that. I'm excited that you've joined us today and to share more about today's topic, designing a world-class sales process. Let's get started. So let's begin with what a sales process is. A sales process is a series of steps that a sales rep can follow to take a prospect all the way through to a customer. And it's important because it creates the discipline around a sales approach. Especially for organizations who are trying to scale, this gives you the ability to do so. And most importantly, it provides a roadmap for sales professionals. It identifies the best practices and the actions that you should take as a sales rep in order to win sales at a high rate. So if you want to grow sales and you want to win sales more frequently and you want to scale your organization, a sales process is critical. And some of the benefits of having a well-defined sales process that sales organizations will enjoy are higher win rates, average deal size, higher attainment to quota, and more. So one of the most critical things that any sales organization needs to have is a well-defined and effective sales process for the sales reps to follow. So the first tip to designing a world-class sales process is to begin with the customer. Many organizations ask us, what's the most effective sales process? And the most effective sales process is one that's aligned to the way that your customers want to buy. So your first step in designing a world-class sales process is to begin with the customer. You need to take the time to map the customer journey. You have to deeply understand how your customers research, evaluate, and make purchasing decisions. What are their decision points? What are the stages that they go through? And what are their expectations? Once you have that understanding, you can start to build out the actions and the activities that you need to take in your sales process in order to win business more often. But at the beginning, it starts with the customer. Now there's 3 basic stages to any customer buying process. The first is awareness. So this is where a customer will become aware that they have a need for a product or service or a problem to solve. 2 is consideration. Now they're considering the variety of options to help them solve that problem. And then 3 is a decision. Here, they're analyzing their options and they're coming to a decision. Now, certainly there can be subsets within all of those, but those are the 3 basic stages that any customer journey will go through. So take the time to call your customers, to listen to your customers, and understand what their journey looks like, and build a great sales process around those steps. The second tip is to define the stages of the sales process and everything that goes in it. So at your highest level, you'll have the basic stages of a sales process. But within that stage, there's some things that you need to identify. First is your objective. What is the objective of this particular stage of the sales process? 2, you'll need to think about all the actions that a seller needs to take in order to successfully execute at this stage. 3, think of the resources and the tools that are available to that sales rep as they work through this stage and with their prospects. Next, you'll need to identify the skills. What are the skills and the behaviors that the sales rep will need to implement in order to have success at this stage of the process? And then finally, you'll need to document the outcomes. You'll need to clearly know if you've achieved success in this particular stage and if you can move on to the next stage. So ensure that when you're building your stages, you have these components: your objectives, your actions, your resources and tools, your skills, and your outcomes. Your third tip is to train and coach. I want you to keep in mind that processes don't sell, people do. It's one thing to define the process, the framework, the steps that your sellers are going to follow, but it's another to have them execute. A large focus of your sales process and your sales process implementation needs to be developing the skills and the behaviors that your salespeople need to implement in order to successfully execute at this stage in the process. So you might say things like discover a client's needs, or identify the key influencers and decision makers, or position the value proposition, negotiate the contract. These are all common things that are going to come up in a sales process, but saying to do it and actually doing it and doing it well is a whole nother thing. As an example, I can teach someone how to swing a golf club, and you might study it and you might know exactly how you should swing a golf club, and you might be able to pass a test on where everything should be during the swing. But going out and doing it is another story. So in your sales process, remember that there's a set of skills and there's people behind this process that are ultimately going to determine if your sales process is successful or not. So be sure to invest the time on training, coaching, have your managers inspecting to ensure you're building those right behaviors. Your fourth tip is to enable it with technology. This can save you a lot of time, and really you want to make it easy for your sellers to be able to execute the sales process. So most commonly, a sales process is going to sit inside a CRM. But within that, you want to connect the things that are important to the seller. So think about the data that's integrated, the resources that they would have access to. Help your sellers make better decisions and find the things that they need quickly and the most effective things that they can use during that stage of the sales process. So the CRM can become your house for where this sits, and there's lots of plugins and customization and things that you can build into that to ensure that as your sellers work through the sales process, they have exactly what they need and they can leverage technology to do a great job and ultimately have success. And your fifth tip is to assess and adjust. It's important to have a mindset of continual improvement. Sales is one of those professions that's constantly evolving. Our customers are changing, our products and services are changing, the way customers are evaluating, researching, and making purchasing decisions is evolving, and therefore sales processes are also evolving. So know that just because you build something, it's not over. Have a mindset of consistent improvement and continual improvement. Second, you also want to make sure you do your win-loss analysis. Find out the reasons why your customers chose to go with you, and just as importantly, why they chose not to. And help that inform your decisions around sales process. Do you have the right steps? Do you have the right skills? Are you providing the right resources? What else do you need to do to ensure that you win sales at the rate that you'd like to? And then finally, A/B test. When you implement something, try it and see if it works. At each of your stages, you have verifiable outcomes. You have things that you're measuring. So when you make a change, if you're hoping for some improvement in that particular milestone or in that particular stage, test it and see what happens. In summary, when designing a world-class sales process, keep in mind these 5 actionable tips. Number 1, begin with the customer. The customer has to be at the heart of your strategy and your approach. Number 2, define the stages, and most importantly, everything that goes with it. Think about your objectives, your actions, your tools, and your resources, and your outcomes. Number 3 is train and coach. Remember, processes don't sell, people too. Enable your sales organization by giving them the training and the coaching that they need to be successful. Number 4 is enable technology. Leverage technology to save time and make it easy for your sellers to execute your sales process. And finally, assess and adjust. Build something and test it over time and focus on consistent and continual improvement, and you'll be on your way to designing your world-class sales process. And that wraps up today's show. Thanks for joining. I'm your host, Justin Zapula with Janik Performance Group. If you'd like to find more information on this topic and other sales performance topics, you can visit us online at janik.com and check out our resource center. Thanks again for joining today's show. Happy selling.